Hi, I'm Pete Barbuti, entertainer. When I'm not on the road, my home is right here in Las Vegas. I was always curious as to how a barren desert could ever become the city it is today, let alone the entertainment capital of the world. Well, between shows, traveling on the road, I read some books and other pioneer accounts of its history. It seems the Paiute Indians had long known this marshy area and the water that rose from its 4 large springs. It was kind of an oasis in the bleak and unforgiving desert. And the Spaniards, on their journey from Mexico to California, passing through this lush valley, gave it its name, Las Vegas, which means the meadows. Well, 2 hours before noon on a day in May 1905, a real estate auction was held. It lasted 2 full days in 106-degree heat. Over 1,000 people were there to bid on properties made available by the railroad. Besides the lots being sold due to the scarcity of building materials, even the platform the auctioneer stood on was sold that day. And the city of Las Vegas was born.
November 1829. A New Mexican trader had sent his scout Rafael Rivera in search of much-needed water for his party of 60 who had made deviations from the known route, searching for a shortcut to California. An abundant supply of artesian water was discovered, as was Las Vegas, which in Spanish means the meadows. Some histories credit the naming of Las Vegas to John C. Fremont. However, he didn't arrive until May 3rd, 1844, and became the most famous visitor of the area. In 1855, Mormon missionaries under the leadership of William Bringhurst built an adobe brick fort as a way station between Salt Lake and San Bernardino. Unsuccessful attempts to convert the Paiute Indians to their faith, along with internal problems as to priorities, resulted in a dispute, and Bringhurst was disfellowshipped from the church, and he left in disgrace. Every major change in the early days of Las Vegas seemed to center around the Mormon fort. The remains stand at the corner of Washington and Las Vegas Boulevard North. The fort was the site of the first post office established in 1856. However, no records can be found of any transactions during its 7-year life. Where the Mormons had failed, a gold prospector, Octavius Decatur Gass, succeeded. Repairing the Mormon fort, he developed the water resources and other holdings. In 1879, he borrowed $5,000 from wealthy rancher Archibald Stewart, using the ranch as collateral. Unable to pay the note when due, the Stewarts took over in 1882. Gass, who pioneered the development of the Las Vegas Valley, was largely forgotten at the time of his death. The waters of the Las Vegas Springs provided a welcome respite from the scorching desert heat as traveler and resident took advantage of this plentiful supply. Adjoining the Stewart Ranch was the Kyle Ranch. It was the scene of numerous tragedies, the most notable of which the feud between Archibald Stewart and a Kyle ranch hand. A shootout between the two left Stewart the loser. It's said because finished lumber was so scarce, Mrs. Stewart removed the doors from the house to build a coffin for her husband. The serenity of the desert meadows, which had never been crossed by steel rails, was invaded by surveyors and construction workers as the push to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans by rail got underway. In 1905, a railroad car was used as depot and express office in anticipation of a land auction soon to be held. R.A. McWilliams had about 1,500 people living in his town site. Hardy souls made a temporary shelter along Las Vegas Creek. And by early May, McWilliams' town site was in the race for the investor dollar with the railroad and Clark's Las Vegas town site. Applications for lots exceeded those available, and it was decided to hold a land auction. For every lot, 3 buyers were ready with money in hand. At 10 a.m., May 15th, 1905, C.O. Whitmore introduced Ben E. Rhodes, and gavel in hand, he opened the sale. About 3/4 of the lots were sold in the 2-day sale, and the city of Las Vegas was born. By 1909, after serving its purpose, the old railroad car that served as depot and express office was replaced with this permanent structure. Across from the depot at Fremont and Main stood the Overland Hotel. And the Nevada Hotel. Today, the Las Vegas Club and the Golden Gate Hotel are on the corners. Early business developed quickly, and Las Vegas called itself the City of Destiny. Boasting a population of 1,250, it listed 5 general merchandise stores, 6 good hotels, 2 handsome churches, 10 miles of graded and curbed streets, an electric light plant, telephone exchange, grade schools, a high school along with 1 hardware store, 1 drugstore, 3 barber shops, 2 meat markets, 1 bakery, 6 restaurants, 1 plumber, a moving picture show, 5 attorneys, 2 doctors, 2 dentists, 2 billiard halls, 2 newspapers, and 11 bars and saloons. In the hot summer before air conditioning, Las Vegans waited until midnight for the night to cool down before going to sleep. And in 1929, the first talking picture was shown. At Sahara in the Strip, where the Sahara Hotel now stands, was Rockwell Airport, the site of the first airfield in Las Vegas. A dirt runway, a few shacks and water well, and a truck that hand-pumped gas, servicing the few planes that landed. Little knowing that one day Las Vegas would be the home of the largest tactical air base in the free world, Nellis, the Army Air Corps, landed its planes on the sandy desert floor. On April 16, 1926, Western Air Express, the first flight inaugurating contract mail service, landed in Las Vegas. The mail was delivered, and the Pony Express met the Air Express. Las Vegas, literally and figuratively, spread its wings.
It was 1931, and dramatic events occurred which would forever change the character, ambiance, and economy of Las Vegas. Gambling was legalized in Nevada. Marriage and divorce laws were altered. And 25 miles away, construction began on Hoover Dam, requiring tons of supplies which needed to be transported, and the railroad was there to provide for that need. In 1920, the Las Vegas population was 2,000. By 1930, it had grown to 5,000, and that was only a fraction of the people explosion yet to come. Just before World War II, a gunnery school was opened 9 miles north of Las Vegas, and that Las Vegas Army Gunnery School stimulated another surge in the city's population and economy. Las Vegas was really growing up.
With gaming legalized and divorce laws changed, the selection of Las Vegas for a railroad division point, construction of Hoover Dam, providing employment for more than 5,000 workers, bolstered the economy while the rest of the nation suffered through the Great Depression. Times were good, and those who weathered the hardships of a doubtful beginning realized that Las Vegas had an unfulfilled, yet unknown destiny.
It gives me extraordinary pleasure to see the great dream I have long held taking form in actual reality of stone and cement. This dam is the greatest engineering work of its character ever attempted at the hand of man. The waters of this great river, instead of being wasted in the sea, will now be brought into use by man.
The names Boulder Canyon Dam and Boulder Dam were used, but the name Hoover Dam was restored by the 80th Congress in April 1947. In 1940, having served its purpose, the 1909 depot, influenced by Spanish architecture, was replaced by what at the time was proclaimed by architects as one of the most beautiful in design, superlatively complete in appointments, and the world's first streamlined, completely air-conditioned passenger station. Looking east on Fremont Street, you can see most of the city ended where Maryland Parkway is today. The rest of the world didn't start out too well in the 40s, but in Las Vegas, it was different. Slot handles were pulled, delivering payoffs in silver, In Europe, another handle was pulled, a bombardier's. The payoff was death and destruction, and Hitler was laying the foundation for World War II. The headlines of the day forecast a period of uncertainty and apprehension for the future. The first peacetime draft passed Congress on September 16, 1940. Hundreds of men waited for housing to be finished. Residents were urged to take these airmen into their homes until the new training base, the Las Vegas Army Air Corps Gunnery School, was completed. Negotiations with Japan failed, and they attacked.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin. The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor.
A date which will live in infamy.
Uncle Sam wanted you. The last cars rolled off the production line. Rosie the Riveter was born, and the last frontier sold war bonds. Would you believe that this was the way we trained aerial gunners? Here you see the instructor using a hand trap to launch clay targets. Note the secretarial chair the trainee is sitting on. This improvised moving base range eventually became a permanent range, replacing the hand-fired clay traps with trap houses alongside the road. A malfunction range was set up, and with less than 1% hits scored on targets towed by B-10 bombers, the range was abandoned as an exercise in futility and wasted ammunition. But the training worked, and the men eventually saw action. The war in Europe ended. It was time to end the war in Japan. August 5th, 1945, and Hiroshima was the target for the first A-bomb. And President Truman told the world,
"The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. We have used it in order to shorten the agony of war."
August 9th, 1945, Nagasaki was leveled. The surrender offer accepted. The war ended. Gas rationing was over. Travel bans and restrictions were lifted at Hoover Dam. And America, without the privations of wartime rationing, started thinking about having a good time. Truman was president, and the West still seemed wild. Attempting to preserve this frontier and Western image, the Last Frontier Hotel built a replica of a Western town. The dam was again open to tourists, and Las Vegas wanted something to divert this profitable traffic. Wild West frontier was established, and Eldorado Days was the attraction. Radio, movie, and TV stars discovered that a Las Vegas dateline guaranteed a release in periodicals read by millions. The discovery of Las Vegas by Hollywood as the ideal location to premiere movies began early. In 1912, E.W. Griffith built the Majestic Theater. In 1915, The Hazards of Helen premiered, and the star Helen Holmes attended. In 1929, en route to Las Vegas from Hollywood, a Union Pacific train ran the movie The Virginian. The star, Gary Cooper, was here to celebrate the event. In 1948, Las Vegas had 5 theaters. And in 1952, the first drive-in, the Motorview, was opened. With all of this publicity, the world took notice of a city called Las Vegas as it entered its 50th year. And they came by train, by plane. Ah, for the life of a dog. Heading for Las Vegas? This is what they came to see. This is Fremont Street, called by many Glitter Gulch. As you see this dazzling display of lights and gambling emporiums, casinos if you prefer, it's hard to believe that Nevada was the last state in the West to outlaw gambling. Midnight, October 1st, 1910, and the law became effective. You couldn't even flip a coin for the price of a drink. The fact that games of chance were illegal at any time is not widely known. In 1931, the Nevada legislature passed a law legalizing gambling. The measure was authored by Phil Tobin, a northern Nevada rancher. Strange as it may seem, Tobin never visited Las Vegas and had no interest in gaming, and claimed to have sponsored the legislation only to raise taxes for public schools, never dreaming that his bill would create an industry that would become the state's largest.
You're about to take a trip showing a continuous stretch of marquees that build the greatest entertainment in the world. I'm talking about action-packed production shows, movie, television stars, headlining in showrooms and lounge acts, circus acts, magicians, comedy stores, animal acts. I mean, if it isn't here, you just can't find it anywhere. It's called The Strip. In 1948, Bob Jones, who was then the district attorney, made a public appeal in an effort to come up with a more suitable title for this one-of-a-kind stretch of road. Well, 1,500 different names were submitted. None of them were suitable, and today it's still The Strip.
Tourism began to blossom, attracted by Hoover Dam and the Las Vegas Army Gunnery School. They came to see relatives and view the attractions. The first of the Strip resorts was constructed. In 1941, the El Rancho Vegas was the first to anchor the north end of what eventually was to become the Strip. In the early morning hours on June 17, 1960, the first Strip hotel, the El Rancho Vegas, was reduced to ashes. Unlike the Phoenix, it was never to rise again. The Paradise Club on the LA Highway stood for the last frontier. The Old West in modern splendor was built, then called the New Frontier, and today, the Frontier. Across from the El Rancho was the Club Bingo, built on the former site of Rockwell Airport. Today, the Sahara Hotel stands on the corner.
In the 40s, the East Coast mob sent one Benjamin Bugsy Siegel, associated with the top criminal element in America, to Los Angeles to set up and operate a wire service for West Coast bookies. In 1942, Bugsy visited Las Vegas, setting up the same service for several clubs here. Las Vegas, Hollywood, and Beverly Hills became his playground. And bankrolled by the mob, his insatiable ego and a dream of going legit was to be satisfied by building a resort hotel and casino. Kicking the desert sand one day was his way of breaking ground for one of the world's most luxurious resorts, the Flamingo Hotel.
Bugsy Siegel's carpet joint changed the Frontier and Old West image of Las Vegas. Don Payne of the Las Vegas News Bureau made these comments about Bugsy.
When Bugsy Siegel opened the Flamingo Hotel, he's the guy that began the real promotion of Las Vegas. He had the foresight to recognize that Las Vegas had the potential to become a really big tourist attraction, and he wanted to capitalize on it. Frankly, I think if we ever get into the business of building statues to the pioneers that had that foresight, one of the first ones ought to be of Bugsy Siegel. It's too bad his vision couldn't foresee the ultimate fate that awaited the guy.
Infatuated with Hollywood, he filled the showroom with top acts and talent. The Flamingo opened December 26, 1946, and Jimmy Durante with Eddie Jackson were the headliners. Lena Horne debuted at the Flamingo. The Ritz brothers, a favorite of Bugsy's, were booked any time they weren't making a picture. Bugsy's third-floor suite, now called the Presidential Suite, is available to the visitor. By today's standards, his personal suite wasn't much. The bedroom behind this door offered more than a night's rest. Well planned, it provided every means of escape. This hatch from his bedroom had access on each of the floors, allowing Bugsy to make use of hidden tunnels. Don Payne again.
Well, Murray, not everyone knew of these tunnels. There are two of them, you know. One led to a parking lot. Whether he ever used them is subject to speculation. He had his reasons. He had his secrets.
He obviously had enemies. On June 20th, 1947, while sitting in the living room of Virginia Hill's Beverly Hills home, gunfire blasted through the windows, and Bugsy's dream ended. 20 minutes after he was hit, two men walked into the Flamingo Hotel and took over the operation. Better known for having blood on his hands, he did, however, have a green thumb. This is Bugsy's rose garden. The big red roses were the result of a nutrient known only to Bugsy. Curiously, some of Bugsy's associates vanished suddenly, never to be found. Rumor has it that if you stand on this spot under a full moon, you can hear three muffled voices say,
"Bugsy, I elect the roses, Bugsy."
Bugsy opened the Flamingo in 1946, ending the halt to construction created by World War II. And in September 1948, the Thunderbird opened. The Desert Inn, April 1955. December 1952, the Sands. The Sahara, October 1952. A champagne tower was added to the Flamingo in 1953. The desert skyline changed in April 1955 when the 9-story Riviera became the first high-rise. The last frontier became the new frontier. A 30-foot Sultan topped the dunes in May 1955. At the south end of the strip was the Hacienda. April 1957, the Tropicana debuted. And the Stardust opened in 1958. The 50s began an era which brought to Las Vegas radio, movie, stage, and television stars. It was a time of discovery, for Las Vegas became a playground for all. A destiny was beginning to unfold. It was to become the entertainment capital of the world. The curtain came down on this odyssey of the 50s as casinos and hotels relinquished their independence. Del Webb's construction company and the Sahara Nevada Corporation merged, creating the first publicly traded company with holdings in a Las Vegas casino. Howard Hughes saw the potential, adding land and hotels to his acquisitions. The corporate invasion began. Did Las Vegas take up where Hollywood left off? Could be, but of this there is no doubt. Las Vegas is the entertainment capital of the world.
The demand to be entertained was absolutely overwhelming, and to satisfy this need, entertainment directors brought in radio, film, and television personalities. They filled the showrooms, the lounges, and even more importantly, they filled the casinos.
While the stars of film, stage, radio, nightclubs, and TV filled the main showrooms, by booking major stars in the casino lounges, another entertainment lure was added. Originally, the lounge was strategically placed by the casino pit to keep customers from wandering too far away. This all changed in 1954, and for the next 16 years, the price of a drink entitled you to see the greatest stars on earth. And lounge hopping became a part of the Las Vegas excitement and vocabulary. August 1964, 6 months after making their U.S. debut on the Ed Sullivan TV show, the Beatles invaded Las Vegas. Tickets sold at an average $4 and were purchased by 8,500. The Beatles' share of the gate was 60%, and that translates to roughly 25,000 for their two concerts. The Las Vegas Convention Center was the only structure large enough to hold the crowd. The marriage may not have been made in heaven, but when the stars were married in Las Vegas, it made headlines. John Ribel of the Las Vegas News Bureau.
Editors read the Las Vegas Dateline. Hollywood's film colony knows this. They come to Las Vegas to get married, not because of the no waiting period, but because the Las Vegas Dateline in a newspaper drew more attention than if they got married in New York, Chicago, or someplace else.
The stars came, and so did the presidents. Harry Truman. In 1954, Ronald Reagan. In tux, he did a soft shoe, told jokes, and was master of ceremonies at the last frontier. Star Wars was around long before the movie. They came to see and be seen. At times, there were more stars as guests in the showrooms than on stage. An appearance in Las Vegas guaranteed a remark in the gossip columns of Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons, and they were read by millions. When you visited Las Vegas, you could rub elbows with the stars. In the showrooms and casinos, it gave you another reason to be there. What if you did lose a few bucks gambling? You went home, told all who would listen, tales imagined and real. For Las Vegas was a state of mind, and you had a willing audience. These are the stars came to see. But this just didn't happen. The Las Vegas News Bureau writers and photographers haunted showrooms and casinos, sending stories and pictures, spreading the word about this unique city that had no clocks in the casinos and no locks on their doors. Movie star Humphrey Bogart hung the title Rat Pack on Sinatra, Martin, and Davis. Peter Lawford added his talents, and Joey Bishop seemed to be ringmaster back in the 60s when this madcap group made their much publicized appearances at the Sands. A ringside table made the stars available for their impromptu antics, and willing or not, they did their bit. Yet with all of this star power, the public wanted more, and Las Vegas gave it to them.
Well, not satisfying this tremendous appetite for entertainment, something new, spectacular, and daring was needed if Las Vegas was going to continue to be the entertainment capital of the world. Whatever it was, it would have to be something totally different, never seen before. So the entertainment directors looked overseas. A logical source? The home of the fabulous music hall, Paris, France.
In 1957, the Dunes presented the first topless showgirls. This brought a condemnation from the Catholic Bishop of Nevada and a storm of publicity throughout the country. The result? The show sold out 3 times a night. 1959, the Tropicana presented the Folies Bergère. In the opening scene of the Follies, there are 7 costume changes and 30 different designs. Complete costume changes occur more than 8 times in a show. Hats, gloves, stockings, shoes, feathers, and costumes are changed. The Stardust bought the rights to the Lido de Paris. The topless showgirl was now a permanent feature in the production shows. But the show couldn't go on without wardrobe, lights, sound, orchestra, rehearsal, makeup, and beautiful women. The lights and curtain come up, and it's showtime. The Las Vegas showrooms present lavish production shows surrounded by stunning Hollywood-style special effects. Production shows combine large casts of dancers, singers, performing animals, magicians, jugglers, acrobats, backed by the world's finest musicians and stagehands. Backstage, costume changes are being made, all in 45 or 50 seconds. 66 different pipes having backdrops of scenery are flown on and off the stage during a performance. And that can amount to 33 tons of sets being stored above the theater stage on these pipes. Cast and crew can number well over 100. 13,000 miniature bulbs are in a light curtain. As much as 1,700,000 watts of power may be used. And you might consider this. There are really 2 shows going on at the same time. One behind the curtain as the next scenes are set, and the one in front of the curtain where on any given evening, more than 30,000 people will be entertained at the early and late shows. Those entertainers of the past are being remembered by the entertainers of today who portray these legends. The impersonator plays an important role in Las Vegas entertainment. You'll applaud the precision of the dance line, marvel at the special effects. Time is turned back to the roaring 20s. Be delighted with an aquacade. Only in Las Vegas could the master illusionists Siegfried and Roy present their magic in a setting complementing their talents. They are the personification of show business elite. Truly, beyond belief. Las Vegas, it's magic.
Headquartered on Fremont Street is Benny Binion's Horseshoe Hotel and Casino. Our reporter Murray Westgate gives us a story about some big, big wins.
Gambling had been legalized in 1931, but it wasn't in full swing until the 50s. Casino action goes on 24 hours a day in a city that never sleeps. We're at Benny Binion's Horseshoe Club, one of the few remaining sole proprietorships left, one in which the owner sets the rules. He doesn't have to answer to any board or corporate bottom line operation. Truly, one of the few gamblers left. At the Horseshoe Club, the largest winning single wager at blackjack, or 21 if you prefer, one wager, one win, $100,000 for the card player with a stack of blacks. Kenny Rogers isn't the only one that knows when to hold them or fold them, for one steel nerve player won the world's largest poker pot, $958,000 at a horseshoe table. Keno, long a favorite, established another win record for a player. The ticket paid $151,000. And if you're really a gambler, try this for a winner. A single bet, a throw of the dice, and you pocket $777,000.
I'm certain everyone has heard of a floating crap game, but have you ever really seen one? John Rival of the Las Vegas News Bureau describes the Las Vegas version.
We got the idea of putting together a publicity shot with a floating crap game. So we took a crap table out of the Sands Casino. We shot the game for UPI and moved it on the wire, and it went all over the world.
And here's another item that made news. A gambler known only by the name of Tom placed a $1 million bet on the don't pass line and lost to the roll of a 7 at Binion's Horseshoe Casino. Yes, Big Brother is watching. It's called the Eye in the Sky. It's a far cry from early days when gaming disputes were settled by gun or rope. Today, the Eye protects you, the dealer, and the casino. Were you to stroll down a western street in the 1800s, you'd see this western saloon. A variety of gambling devices were available, and the usual games of chance. The ever-present piano player offered music suitable to that time and place. When Pat Hogan, a California gambler, cashed in his own chips by shooting himself after a fearful streak of bad luck, he had placed an ace of hearts in his pocket with this poem. Life is only a game of poker, played well or ill. Some hold 4 aces, some draw and fill. Some make a bluff and oft get there, while others ante and never hold a pair.
Well, so much for the good old days. I'll take Las Vegas as it is today. But there's more to this great city than glitter, glamour, and gambling. Here are just a few of the alternatives for you to consider.
The growth of Las Vegas was a series of concepts fostered by outside events. Emerson stated, "Man is not great in his goals, but in his transitions." The construction of the Las Vegas Convention Center is an example. In 1959, the World Congress of Flight opened at the Convention Center, bringing people from all over the world to this awesome display of air power, transportation, and weaponry. A background of missiles provides a contemporary setting for a World War I SPAD and its pilot, and the weapons of that war. The old. The X-15, the first aircraft to fly twice the speed of sound. Note the resemblance to the F-16 flown today. The attraction of a single-level facility makes Las Vegas a major choice for conventions. And Las Vegas had discovered a means to bolster off-season revenue in the resort industry. Today, it continues to expand to meet the increasing demands of trade shows and conventions. There's an abundance of tennis courts and golf courses in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a mecca for lovers. Some even get married. It's the couple capital of the world. New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day are the most popular days to get married. When the last Frontier Hotel was demodernize, the threat to tear down this little chapel brought pleas from romantics around the world to save it. It now rests on the grounds of the Hacienda Hotel. "35 miles from Las Vegas is Hoover Dam. When completed, its floodgates were allowed to handle an overflow as a test. But in 1983, the Colorado River went on a rampage. This time it wasn't a test, and the floodgates overflowed. Spectators from all over the world came to witness this awesome display.
Hey, where are you folks from?
England.
What do you think about this?
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
Have you ever seen anything like it before?
Never. We've been to Yosemite, and that was good.
Yosemite. This actually kind of equals the show?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Really good.
At 120 miles an hour, it poured over 28,000 cubic feet of water per second over its spillways. It tamed the Colorado and proved it could do what it was originally destined to accomplish, a diversion of huge volumes of water under controlled conditions. The construction of the dam provided Las Vegas with another source of revenue from locals and visitors, Lake Mead Recreational Area. With 550 miles of shoreline, more than 6 million visitors a year swim, fish, boat, and camp on its waters and shores. West of Las Vegas is Red Rock Canyon, a magnificent view of brilliantly colored sandstone. Snow-covered Mount Charleston offers winter skiing at Lee Canyon. And in summer, it offers an escape from the heat with beautiful forests and picnic facilities. Northwest of Las Vegas is the Nevada test site. In the 50s, above-ground testing of nuclear devices was conducted. Had you been at the test site, this is what you would have seen. This Chamber of Commerce film shows what it looked like from Fremont Street.
In a few seconds, you will witness a scene often viewed by the residents of Las Vegas, but an unusual thrill for the visitor. When these scenes were being filmed, scientists were standing by at the Nevada Proving Grounds 100 miles away to detonate an atomic device. Watch closely for a man-made sun.
Nomadic Indians camped at several natural springs found in the area. This is one of many protected archaeological areas at the site. Mercury, the main base camp, provides overnight housing for the workers, but there's no family housing. Yucca Mountain, located in one of the most arid and sparsely populated regions in the United States, and is the possible site of a high-level radioactive waste dump. Holes for underground tests are drilled by these huge bits. With an explosive yield equivalent to 1 million tons, this canister is lowered downhole. Miles of cable relay scientific data to recording trailers on the surface. Staffed by experts in nuclear devices, meteorology, radiation, and medicine, this is the control point for all tests. Peaceful uses for nuclear explosives are the object of the Nevada test site with experiments for massive earth excavation. 12 million tons of earth have been displaced by such an explosion. A few miles northeast of Las Vegas is the world's largest tactical air command, Nellis Air Base, named after Lieutenant William H. Nellis, a native of Searchlight in Las Vegas, who was shot down on his 69th mission over Europe. Host for a world gunnery meet, Operation Gunsmoke, Nellis is the training base for all phases of Air Force gunnery, rocketry, and bombing. Nellis is the home of the world-famous Air Force demonstration team, the Thunderbirds. Las Vegans and visitors love them. They've waded through hours of scorching heat, freezing or rain-drenched flight lines to watch the demonstration. Captain Jim Benson, Public Affairs Officer, met us in this new hangar that houses offices, museum, and a theater. Jim, what's the purpose of the Thunderbirds?
Our mission for all this since 1953 has been to recruit young men and women for Air Force careers, have them think about the Air Force as a good opportunity to start their life, and also to help keep the quality people that we have in the Air Force to stay in for the long term. Additionally to that, we'd like to take our jets on the road and help show the American public what they're getting for their tax dollars. In essence, the best defense that their money can buy, and that we really do have quality people and quality equipment on the front line of America's defense. As you'll see visiting around the squadron today, we are in our 8th aircraft now, flying the F-16A Fighting Falcon. You know, Murray, we've been talking about the F-16, which is the current aircraft the Thunderbirds are flying right now. Let's go out and take a look at one close-up. Well, Murray, you can see behind me we're at the Nellis flight line, one of the busier ones around. And we've got 2 of the F-16s that the Thunderbirds are currently flying behind me. The aircraft are very capable performers. They can fly twice the speed of sound and higher than 50,000 feet. This, of course, requires exceptional performance from our pilots, who are seasoned veterans and have at least 1,000 hours in jet or fighter time before deciding to apply for the Thunderbird team. And of course, they go through a very extensive and rigorous training period of about 4 months before they go into the demonstration season. Let's go out and take a close look at one, and we'll walk around a little bit. Murray, what we have here is an F-16B model. This is one of the 2-seaters that we have on the team that we use for training. You'll notice the canopy is longer. That's to make for the second seat in the back. And if you can tell from the shot here is that the seat is tilted somewhat, and that helps the pilot sustain the heavy G-loads that the aircraft is capable of. Now, moving down on the skin of the airplane, you'll see a port where the gun is located normally. Now, the guns are removed on the Thunderbird aircraft, and in place of that, and behind that gun area, is placed 50 gallons of lightweight oil, which we use to make the smoke for the demonstration. As you'll see at the back end, this is where the plumbing is used to bring the oil from the front of the aircraft back. So when the command is given to put the smoke on, oil is sprayed into the nozzle at the exhaust end of the aircraft, and the heat is such that it will vaporize the oil and make the white smoke that you see. Well, Murray, that's about it for our tour today. We thank you for coming out and spending some time with the Thunderbirds. We hope others will, too, when they get a chance to come to Las Vegas.
Earlier, a statement was made that in a performance, there really are 2 shows going on at once. Well, that's true, the one in front of the curtain and the one behind the curtain. In Las Vegas, a major portion of this city's 24-hour population is serving the millions of visitors in front of the curtain. But behind the curtain, you'll discover the other Las Vegas.
The obvious is easily overlooked. The glitter and glitz of Fremont Street and the Strip, 24-hour gaming, and the apparent casual lifestyle. In fact, Las Vegas isn't much different from other cities of comparable size. 605,000 live in Las Vegas and the immediate vicinity. 20,000 students attend classes at UNLV.
It's hard to believe that this was a desert less than 30 years ago. Hello, I'm Bob Maxson, and now we're on our way to becoming one of the best urban universities in the country, and that's our goal. We're dedicated to serving the educational needs of the citizens of Nevada and the great Southwest. We have an unwavering commitment to academic excellence for the sake of these young people and future generations of Nevadans. We live in a dynamic city of over 500,000 people who are helping us build.
Las Vegas has more churches per capita than any other city in the world, 236 more or less, serving 40 denominations. It's the largest city in America founded in the 20th century. 320 days a year you'll find the sun shining. 7 inches of rainfall a year is all you're going to get. The temperature averages 79 degrees. And at 2,000 feet elevation, the nights are comfortably cool. It's a youthful city, and most love living here. Many names have been hung on the city in attempts to label and identify it. They've all failed. For life away from the Strip and Fremont Street is life anywhere, USA. As early as 1940, shopping centers appeared in Las Vegas. The first large covered mall, the Boulevard, opened in 1968. The Meadows Mall is the largest in the state, having over 12 acres under one roof. It opened in 1978. The prestigious Fashion Show Mall opened on the Strip in 1981. These and other shopping centers located throughout the valley offer resident and visitor a wide variety of merchandise. In 1905, life began for Las Vegas just north of this hotel. The 1940 depot was torn down to build it. A transportation center now serves as arrival and departure points for city buses. The interest in flight started at Rockwell Airport. McCarran Field eventually became the executive terminal. Realizing that air travel was to have a substantial impact on its growth and not being able to satisfy the constant pressure from the traveler, trade show attendees and others, all wanting greater and faster accessibility to this unique city, construction of McCarran 2000 began. In the 1900s, the Army Air Corps Ford Trimotors were the first to land on the desert runway. Today, the Concorde sets the pace for the future. In the early days of Las Vegas, little if anything was done to entice the family to visit. Today, that's all changed. Its mild desert climate, combined with a desire to make Las Vegas a destination for the whole family, resulted in correcting the image of mob influence that died years ago. As a matter of fact, little if anything was known about mob influence until the death of Bugsy Siegel, which carried the influential Las Vegas dateline. The pioneers provided a foundation for a future. It may bill itself as the entertainment capital of the world, a diamond in the desert. But a closer look will reveal as proclaimed in the 1900s. It's a city of destiny. Las Vegas, having been born in the desert, is a survivor. If the parenting of Las Vegas is to be questioned, Lady Luck is a strong contender for its motherhood.
Well, there it is, the story of my town. What does the future hold for my town? Like its skyline, Las Vegas is constantly changing. Never any stagnation here. New ideas, new talent, new faces. No longer a road stop on a journey elsewhere. It's a destination. Maybe, just maybe, Las Vegas is a reality and not a myth.